I sent my parents $1,500 a month, covered their bills, and co-signed their loan so they could live comfortably. But on my kid's 5th birthday, they didn't show up. They went to my brother's event instead. I didn't argue. By noon, Mom was screaming from new numbers. Hey Reddit, my parents have always treated my brother like he walks on water, and me like the backup plan with a wallet. So I finally cut them off and focused on my wife and kid. Thought that was the end of it, but nope. Before I get into the mess that followed, let me start from the beginning. My name's Nate. I am 32, work in HVAC, and live in a small 2-bedroom apartment with my wife Tessa and our daughter Lila. For the last 3 years, I have been sending my parents, Gordon and Valerie, $1,500 every month on the 1st. It started as a one-time bailout when my dad's hours were cut and they were about to miss the mortgage. Then it was just until work is stable, then just until the loan evens out, then just while we recover, until I realized I was quietly holding 2 households together. That money was not a favor anymore. It was the brace under their house. I also paid their homeowner insurance and electric bill, and I covered payments on a personal loan I had co-signed when they started missing them so my credit would not get wrecked. When my dad's old truck died, I paid to get it running again. I never added new bills, but I never dropped the old ones either. My line was supposed to be simple. I will help, but you do not treat me like I owe you. While I kept their life afloat, my older brother Dylan walked on water. He is 35, lives online, and turns every small thing into a post. My parents adore it. To them, he is the one we are so proud of. I am the one paying their way, and half the time they act like I am background noise. Tessa notices. She stays polite to them, but she is honest with me. Our budget is tight. Rent, groceries, gas, my car needing work, Lila outgrowing clothes and needing school stuff. Every time that transfer hits, I see Tessa's jaw tighten for a second. She knows I think I am doing the right thing, but good intentions do not stretch a paycheck. We skip extras and shuffle bills while my parents talk like they are one step from the street. One night, while I was online looking for cheap school supplies, I saw a post from my mom. A long, emotional caption about how blessed she is to have a son who does so much for us, over a photo of Dylan and his kid. Meanwhile, I was paying their insurance, electric, loan, and repairs, and sending them more each month than Dylan has probably sent in years. I did not need applause, but it hit me that I did not even exist in the version of reality she shares with the world. 2 days later, I called my parents together. Calm voice, no yelling. I told them the $1,500 was not working on my end anymore, and asked if we could lower it, or at least go over where it was going. They went straight to outrage. My mom asked if they now had to report to me, and said that after raising me, they should not have to justify anything. My dad said, "We are your family. This is what family does." When I mentioned lowering the amount, my mom acted like I had cut off her oxygen and threw in, "I guess Dylan is the only one who cares." That sentence told me everything I needed. I ended the call with, "Lila's birthday is coming up. Let's focus on that. We will talk later." But in my head, there was no later. I had seen enough to know they were not helpless. They were comfortable leaning on me and furious that I dared to ask where the money went. So I made a quiet decision. No ultimatums, no drama. Lila's birthday was going to be the last test. If they showed up for her like they promised, maybe there was something left to salvage. If they did not, that would be the line. I can swallow a lot when it is aimed at me. I do not let anyone casually hurt my daughter. I did not know it yet, but the breaking point was already sitting on the calendar next to her party. It was not about money anymore. It was about Lila. The first of the month hits different when you know $1,500 is about to vanish before you even grab your keys for work. I'd be getting ready, tying my boots, and I'd hear the faint buzz from my phone. Bank alert. Transfer completed. Same time every 30 days. And every time it happened, Tessa would go quiet for a second. Not angry, not blaming me, just calculating in her head how tight that month was going to be. We weren't starving, but we were stretched. Rent, groceries, gas, Lila's school stuff, and all of that had to fit around the money going to my parents. We cut back on eating out a long time ago. We put off apartment repairs the landlord wouldn't fix. I pushed off maintenance on my own car until I basically had no choice. Tessa kept trying to grab extra shifts, even though I told her not to. It added up. Every month felt like we were running a race with sandbags strapped on. Meanwhile, my parents acted like they were seconds away from living under a bridge. Every time Valerie called, it was the same dramatic tone. "We're barely holding on. We can't breathe with these bills. We don't know what to do." But little things didn't add up. For people who claimed to be drowning, They always seemed to have brand new patio decorations in the background during video calls. There was always a new houseplant, new throw pillows, some small upgrade they casually mentioned. Nothing huge, nothing flashy, but definitely not stuff broke people by. And Gordon's truck? The same one I kept paying to fix? He somehow managed to take little day trips every other weekend. According to him, he only drove to the store. But the mileage increases, and the mud on the tires told a different story. I never said anything. I just listened and kept notes in my head. Then, one night after work, I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone, trying to see if there were any decent sales on school supplies for Lila. That's when I saw it. A Facebook post from Valerie. A big, flowery paragraph with a picture of Dylan and his kid, Miles. Feeling blessed today? So grateful for our amazing son, Dylan. Always doing so much for us. So proud of the beautiful family he's built. Long story short, she wrote an entire essay praising him for existing, not helping with bills, not showing up for anything, just being her golden boy. Comments were full of relatives gushing over him too. I didn't react, not outwardly. I didn't go to Tessa with it. I didn't even roll my eyes. I just kept reading and locked it in mentally. Meanwhile, I was paying their insurance, electric, loan, repairs, and sending them more money per month than Dylan had probably sent them in a decade combined. I didn't need a trophy. I just didn't like being played. And I definitely didn't like being treated like I was the lesser son when I was the one keeping their lights on. 2 days later, I decided I was done letting things slide. I called Gordon and Valerie together. No anger, no yelling, just direct. Look, I said, the 1,500 isn't working on my end. Things are tight here. Either we lower the amount for a while, or I need to know exactly where that money's going. They took it the exact wrong way. Valerie immediately got dramatic. So now we report to you? You think we're lying? We raised you. We shouldn't have to justify anything. Gordon chimed in with the usual guilt lines. I can't believe you'd talk to your parents like this. We're your family. This is what family does. The whole thing played out like a script they had practiced. Not once did they ask if we were okay. Not once did they acknowledge the pressure on our household. And the second I mentioned lowering the amount, Valerie acted like I was cutting off her oxygen supply. She even threw in the classic, I guess Dylan is the only one who cares. That one was meant to sting. It didn't. It just made things clearer. I didn't argue. I didn't explain anything twice. I just ended the conversation with a simple, steady line. Lila's birthday is coming up. Let's focus on that. We'll talk later. But I already knew. We weren't talking later. I had seen enough. They weren't struggling. They were comfortable leaning on me. And the moment I asked for anything reasonable, they acted betrayed. So I made a decision. Quiet, firm. No drama. Lila's birthday weekend would be the final test. If they respected her enough to show up, maybe there was something left to salvage. If they didn't, then things were going to change fast. A few nights before the party, I called Valerie to confirm. Just checking in. You two are still coming Saturday, right? She sounded breezy, cheerful, almost overly sweet. Of course we're coming. Wouldn't miss it. I didn't answer with excitement. I didn't reassure her. I just said, all right. And when I hung up, I wasn't hopeful. I wasn't counting on them. I wasn't imagining happy family moments. I was watching, and I was ready. Lila had been talking about her birthday for weeks. Not because she expected anything fancy, she's 5, but because she loves the idea of everyone being together. So Tessa and I decided we'd make the most of what we had. Tessa baked a chocolate cake the night before, the kind that sinks a little in the middle but tastes better than anything you could buy at a bakery. I set up a little game corner with coloring pages, plastic bowling pins, and a tiny ring toss set I found on sale. It wasn't Pinterest perfect. It was homemade, real, and built for a kid who didn't care about price tags. Lila woke up excited, bouncing in the hallway in her purple dress before I'd even finished brushing my teeth. She kept asking what time it was, how long until her friends arrived, if Grandma and Grandpa were already on their way. I kept the energy up. Jokes, high fives, everything to keep her in that birthday mood. Around noon, the first kids started showing up with their parents. They brought small gifts, books, a puzzle, a stuffed animal. Tessa handled the parent chat while I ran the kid zone. I'm good with kids. They like straightforward people. I showed them how to bowl with the plastic pins, made a big show of pretending to lose, let them gang up on me in ring toss. Lila was right in the middle of all of it, laughing, running around, showing her friends the decorations. But every few minutes, she'd drift toward the door. She didn't stand there dramatically or anything. She'd just glance at it, tilt her head, then bounce back to whatever we were doing. Each time she said the same thing. Are Grandma and Grandpa almost here? Each time I said what a dad says to keep the mood steady. They'll get here soon, kiddo. Come on, let's play. I kept my tone light, but I was watching the clock. The party started at 1. Valerie had confirmed they were coming. Gordon had grunted something like yeah in the background when she said it, so I expected them to walk in at some point. Not early, they're never early, but before the cake at least. 2 o'clock passed. No call. 2:30, nothing. 3 o'clock. Still nothing. Tessa kept checking her phone discreetly. I could tell she was trying not to let it bother her, for Lila's sake, but her eyes said everything. We lit the candles around 3:15, because the kids were already getting restless. Lila stood in front of the cake, blowing at the candles before we finished singing, and she was smiling, but her eyes kept darting to the door. When the candles went out, she looked again. Still no one. After cake, we opened gifts. Lila said thank you after every single one, even though she was clearly distracted. I kept the energy up, interacting with the kids, joking with the parents, but in the back of my mind, I was keeping track of the time like I was timing a job. 3:30, 3:45, 4. The last of the parents arrived to pick up their kids. They thanked us for the party, complimented the cake, told Lila happy birthday. She said thank you back, soft but polite, still glancing at the door. When the final family left and the door closed behind them, the apartment suddenly felt quiet. Lila stood in the middle of the room, still holding the bow from one of her presents. She looked up at me. "Daddy?" she said. "Did Grandma and Grandpa forget?" I crouched in front of her. "No," I said gently. "They didn't forget. They just didn't make it." "Why?" Her voice cracked a little. I try to be plain with my kid, but I don't dump adult problems on her. So I said the simplest truth I could. Sometimes grown-ups don't make good choices, but that's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Her eyes filled up and she stepped forward, pressing her face against my shirt. Not a loud sob, not a tantrum. Just that small, quiet cry that hits deeper because she's trying to hold it in. I held her. Slow, steady, no extra talking. Tessa came over and rubbed her back, and we just let Lila cry for a minute. A few minutes later, she sniffed, wiped her eyes, and asked if she could go play with her new coloring book. I told her yes, and she went to her room. When the door closed, I stood up and looked at Tessa. She didn't have to say anything. She already knew I wasn't brushing this off. I've taken disrespect from my parents before, but this wasn't about me. This was about Lila. They hurt her without even blinking. Tessa waited, watching me, letting me speak first. "They're done," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it was final. "After today, they're not doing this again. Not to her." Tessa nodded once. No argument, no hesitation. Then I walked to the table, pulled out my laptop, and opened my bank account. Tessa turned off the faucet and walked over. The monthly transfer, $1,500, set to hit on the 1st, was still queued for the next cycle. I clicked into the settings, disabled it, confirmed the cancellation, and watched the screen refresh. Gone. That money had moved like clockwork for 3 years. Never late, never missed. It kept their mortgage handled, kept their day-to-day easier, kept them steady. And they couldn't show up for a child's birthday party they'd confirmed twice. Next, I opened the insurance account. I'd been paying their homeowner insurance monthly ever since Gordon claimed they just needed help catching up. Catching up turned into depending on me. I clicked Remove Payment Method, ignored the warning prompts, and shut that off too. The electric bill was next, the one they always pretended was overwhelming them, even though they never once thanked me for covering it. That account had my card saved under Primary Payer. I deleted it. Another confirmation screen. Gone. Tessa sat beside me quietly. She didn't push, didn't question. She just stayed close, because she knew exactly why I was doing this. After that, I pulled up the loan portal. The personal loan I co-signed 2 years ago was still hanging off my credit. I filed a lender release request to be taken off as co-signer. Those only move if the bank approves it or they refinance. But I wanted the review and the paper trail, on record given their missed payments and the way I'd been backstopping them. If they wanted that loan, they could hold it themselves now. Then I made one last list. All the times Gordon's truck had broken down and I'd covered repairs without complaining. I didn't have to click anything for that one. I just made the decision. No more mechanic bills. No more shop visits under my name. If the truck died again, it died on him. When everything was done, I leaned back and cracked my knuckles. Not out of satisfaction, just out of routine. I've handled tight budgets, broken units, busted AC coils, and all kinds of problems at work. This felt the same. A job that needed doing. "Do you want to wait for them to call?" Tessa asked. "No," I said. Not this time. I pulled out a notebook, wrote down the math, because I wanted to see it on paper. 1,500 per month, 12 months a year, 3 years. That's about $54,000. 54,000 that didn't go to Lila's savings, or rent, or repairs, or even a down payment on something better. And that was just the cash. That didn't include the insurance, the electric, the loan risk, the repairs. If I added those, the number got ugly fast. I stared at the total. Tessa rested her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? Yeah, I said. I'm good. I should have done this earlier. I wasn't talking loud. I didn't need to. The finality was already in the room. I picked up my phone next, opened the contact list, pulled up Gordon first, then Valerie. I blocked their numbers. Calls, texts, everything. They could scream into the void if they wanted to, but I wasn't giving them access to me tonight, or tomorrow, or anytime soon. You really don't want to hear their side? Tessa asked quietly. They had their chance, I said. They skipped her birthday. That tells me everything I need to know. Tessa nodded. Good. I closed the laptop, turned off the lamp, and stood there in the dim living room for a few seconds. Balloons drooping, leftover cupcakes on the counter, little gift bags half open, and the memory of Lila holding that bow and asking if her grandparents forgot her. That was the line, and they crossed it without even noticing. They're done, I said, almost to myself. I grabbed my phone, double-checked the blocks, and set it face down. No explanations needed, no calls to wait for, no second thoughts. They wanted to act like I owed them? Fine. They could keep that story. But they weren't getting another dollar from me. The next morning, I saw Dylan's newest post, him and Miles grinning at their big weekend event, and my parents right there in the background, tagged and smiling like they hadn't missed anything the day before. I didn't care anymore. By noon, the insurance company sent an automated email saying the payment method had been removed. An hour later, the electric company sent a past due alert that still hit my inbox because my email was listed as the contact on the account. I deleted both emails. Around 3 p.m., my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Local area code, but not saved. I already knew what that meant. When someone's blocked, they don't just stop calling. They find another way to get through. I answered because I wasn't dragging this out for days. Valerie didn't even breathe first. What did you do? She snapped, her voice already pitched high. Everything is bouncing. The insurance, the electric. We're dealing with a mess because of you. I'm sure you'll figure it out, I said calmly. Don't you take that tone with me. You can't just cancel things without telling us. We rely on that money. I noticed. She gasped like she'd been insulted personally. You stole from us. It was my money, I corrected. It was our money. You said you would help. You said you'd take care of us. I said I'd help when you needed it, I said. I didn't sign a contract to fund your life forever. I heard Gordon in the background. Give me the phone, he barked. There was fumbling. Then his voice came through, clipped and irritated. What's your problem, Nate? No problem, I said. Just ending something that should have ended a long time ago? You blindsided us. We had things planned. Bills lined up. You know how tight things are here. Tight? I asked. Tight enough to skip Lila's birthday and go celebrate Miles's event weekend with Dylan? Silence for a moment. Then Gordon went defensive. Don't start with that. We had plans with your brother. Something important came up. You confirmed you were coming. That changed, he snapped. And we're not going to feel guilty for spending time with Dylan's family. You don't have to feel guilty, I said. But you're not getting paid for it, he huffed. So you're punishing us? No, I said. I'm done rewarding people who disrespect my kid. Dramatic, he muttered. Lila's fine. She's fine because Tessa and I made her fine. Not because you showed up. He sighed, the fake disappointed dad tone he loved to use. You know, this is exactly why being around you is exhausting. Everything with you is stressful. Dylan's home is relaxing. His life is put together. Yours is always something. Tessa looked up from across the room, eyebrows tightening. I kept my voice level. You think my house is stressful because I don't let people walk over me? That's not what I said. It's what you implied. He clicked his tongue. You're imagining things. We are struggling. Everything is expensive these days. You have no idea what we deal with. I paid your insurance, your electric, your loan, your repairs, and sent you $1,500 every month. I know exactly what you dealt with. That money kept us afloat, he snapped. It was ours. You offered. Nobody forced you. And now I'm done offering, I said. You can't just pull the plug because you're mad about one birthday, he growled. It wasn't one birthday? It was just the clearest example. He paused, then threw another jab. You think Dylan would do this? He wouldn't. He knows how to treat his parents. Then let Dylan take over, I said. He loves the spotlight. I'm sure he'll enjoy being the hero. You're being ridiculous, he barked. Turn everything back on before the first. We're not playing with you. I'm not turning anything back on. You can't. I already did. More silence. The kind where they realized yelling wasn't going to change anything. Valerie yelled something in the background. Ungrateful. After all we did. The usual greatest hits. I didn't let it land. Gordon lowered his voice, trying one last tactic. We raised you. We gave you everything. And this is what we get? You raised me, I said. And I helped you for years. But that doesn't give you ownership over me, my wife, or my kid. He didn't have a comeback, just breathing on the line, angry and stuck. I'm done talking, I said. If you hang up, don't expect us to forgive this. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Then I ended the call. No yelling, no explaining, no repeating myself. I set the phone down, screen facing the table. Tessa watched me for a second. They're losing it, aren't they? Yeah, I said. But I'm done. They can lose it without me. And that was the part that mattered. I was finished. The morning after the fallout call, things were calm for maybe 4 hours. Long enough for me to grab coffee, get Lila to school, and head out to my first HVAC job of the day. I wasn't expecting peace. People who feel entitled don't go quiet. But I figured they'd need time to regroup. Around lunchtime, I got a text from Tessa. Your mom called me. I called her immediately. She picked up fast. You good? I asked. Yeah, she said. Just irritated. What did she say? Tessa sighed. She started out crying, saying she's sorry if she came off harsh before. Then she switched and said you're being stubborn and hurting them for no reason. She said you're stressed, not thinking clearly, and you need someone to talk sense into you. My jaw tightened. She really tried that? She also said you're lashing out, and she's worried about the pressure you're under, which is ridiculous because you're the calmest guy I know. Anything else? Yeah. She said you're jeopardizing their safety, and she said maybe I could convince you to be reasonable. I kept my tone even. You didn't entertain it, right? Not for a second, Tessa said. I told her I wasn't getting between a husband and his boundaries, and if she has a problem, she needs to talk to you directly, which she already knows you aren't accepting calls from. Good. That's why she's my wife. Don't answer her again, I said. At all. Wasn't planning on it. The second I ended that call, my phone buzzed. A text from Gordon. Mom's in the hospital. Call now. No details. No location. No hint of what happened. Just a manipulative demand. I opened the message, stared at it, and typed one line. Which hospital? No answer. So I called the 3 nearest hospitals myself. No Valerie, no record, nothing. 10 minutes later, Gordon finally texted back, We meant she's not feeling good. She's very upset. You should call. She needs you. There it was. The backpedal. They couldn't even keep the lie straight. I responded, Don't use fake emergencies. That lane is closed. He replied instantly, Wow, heartless. She raised you. And this is how you treat her when she's unwell? I didn't bother texting back. I blocked that number too, but they had more numbers. Around dinner time, another unfamiliar number popped up. I let it ring. When it stopped, a voicemail came through. Valerie's voice, trembling in that dramatic way she uses when she's trying to sell a story. You're breaking your mother's heart, she said. You're not the son I raised. You're selfish and cruel, and we don't deserve this. She hung up after that. I deleted it. If they wanted me to feel guilty, they needed a different target. Lila was playing with blocks on the floor, humming. That was the only thing I cared about, not performative voicemails. A few hours later, another text came in from a new number. We're speaking with someone about the loan. You'll be legally responsible for dropping support without notice. Gifts aren't a legal obligation. There's no duty to keep funding adults, so I wasn't biting. I almost laughed. They always picked the wrong angle. The loan they were threatening me with? The one I co-signed? It only existed because they begged me to attach my credit to it. I screenshotted the message and sent it to Kira, my lawyer friend who works in family and financial law. She called 10 minutes later. They're bluffing, she said. There's no legal standing. You didn't default on anything. You simply removed your voluntary payments. They can't weaponize a loan you co-signed when they've been the ones misusing it. Figures, I said. She continued. If they escalate again, let me know. Paper trails help. Thanks, I said. Hopefully it stops soon. It won't, she replied bluntly. People who depend on someone else financially don't let go cleanly. She was right. That entire day was them clawing at any access point they could find. Work, my wife, fake emergencies, guilt, threats, but they never came to the apartment. Not yet. They were sticking to the psychological pressure, the social pressure, the manipulation. And every time they tried one angle, I blocked that door permanently. By the time I sat down that night, I'd blocked 4 new numbers, deleted 2 voicemails, dismissed multiple lies, and shut down the nonsense about the loan. Tessa sat beside me on the couch. They aren't stopping, she said. They will, I replied, or they'll run out of ways to reach me. She leaned against me quietly. Lila was asleep in her room, safe and happy, unaware of the chaos outside our walls. They're panicking, I added, but I'm not bending. That wasn't anger talking. It was a simple fact. They were escalating, but I was done. The next week on Tuesday, we were eating a late breakfast. Lila was at school when the door buzzer went off. I checked the camera on my phone. Gordon and Valerie standing there like they owned the hallway. Tessa looked at me. You want me to lock Lila's room and step out for a bit? Nah, I said. She's at school. We'll handle this. I opened the door but kept the chain on. Half the door cracked. That's it. Gordon immediately tried to push his way in with his shoulder, like this was still his house, and I was 16. You can stop right there, I said, not raising my voice. You're not coming in. Valerie did that tight-lipped fake smile. We're not here to fight. We're here to talk like adults. You don't show up uninvited after everything you pulled and say, talk like adults. Say what you came to say, right here. Gordon leaned forward. You're acting like a child, Nate. This has gone far enough. It went far enough when you skipped my kid's birthday. That was the finish line. Valerie rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. Oh my God. We said we were sorry about the party. You're still stuck on that? Lila won't even remember. I felt my jaw tighten. Don't ever talk about my daughter like she's an inconvenience again. Gordon jumped in fast, like he wanted control back. This is bigger than a birthday. What you're doing is wrong. You're cutting off your parents. You're humiliating us. I'm not humiliating you. You did that to yourselves. Valerie huffed. You don't get to decide that. We raised you. We supported you. We are your parents. And I supported you for 3 years, I said. $1,500 every month. Your insurance, your electric, your loan, your truck. You don't get to rewrite reality now. Gordon's eyes narrowed. That money was help you offered. We didn't force you. Right. And now I'm done offering. Valerie made a sharp little laugh. You hear him? She said to someone I couldn't see. He thinks he can just drop us like we're nothing. Then I heard the speaker. A faint echo behind her voice. Dylan. And there it was. The setup. Gordon turned his phone slightly so I could see Dylan's face on the screen. Big smug look, like he was walking into a courtroom he thought he already won. Nate, Dylan said loud, performing right out the gate. What are you doing, man? Mom's crying every day. Dad's stressed out. You're tearing this family apart. I looked at him for a second. You on speaker because they need backup? Don't do that, he snapped. I'm here because someone needs to talk sense into you. Cool. Start by listening instead of preaching. He scoffed. I've listened to enough. You cut them off because you got your feelings hurt. Over a kid party. That's not how a grown man acts. Careful, I said. You're speaking about my daughter again. Valerie waved her hand at me like I was a dog barking. Stop acting tough. You're not scaring anybody. I smiled a little. Not because it was funny, but because she really didn't understand the position she was in. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just not letting you in my house. Different thing. Gordon stepped closer. We didn't come here to argue. We came here to settle this. You're going to turn the payments back on. I stared at him. No. That's not an option, Valerie snapped. You're in a position to demand nothing. Dylan cut in again, louder. Nate, you're making yourself look insane. You're punishing them for visiting me. You're jealous, man. Just admit it. I laughed once, dry. Jealous of what? You want the truth? Here it is. Gordon started to interrupt, but I kept going. You two didn't just miss the party. You confirmed you were coming, then went to Dylan's weekend event instead. I saw the photos. Smiling. Tagged. Like my kid didn't exist. Then you called me from random numbers, screaming that I stole your money. Then you called my wife privately, trying to turn her against me. Then you faked a hospital emergency by text to bait me. And when that didn't work, you threatened me with a loan I only co-signed because you begged. Silence. Not from Gordon and Valerie. They were red in the face. But from Dylan. The smugness dulled a bit. Valerie found her voice first. You're twisting everything. No, I'm listing it. Gordon snapped. We did not fake anything. Your mother was sick. You told me she was in the hospital. I called 3 hospitals. Nothing. Then you said we meant she wasn't feeling good. That's a lie, Gordon. Valerie raised her chin. We were trying to get your attention because you were acting heartless. I was acting like a man who doesn't get played. Dylan jumped in, trying to pull the spotlight back. Okay, even if that stuff happened, you still don't treat your parents like this. You could have just talked to them. I tried. They exploded. And you, I said, looking straight at his face on the screen, you didn't even know about any of that because they didn't tell you the parts that make them look bad. Valerie snapped, Dylan knows enough. Oh yeah, I said. Ask him if he knew I've been sending $1,500 a month for 3 years, plus bills. Ask him if he knew that's why my budget's been tight. Ask him if he knew you've never once thanked me, but you'll write a public love letter to him for breathing. Dylan blinked. Wait, what? Gordon stiffened. Valerie shot a look at the phone like she wanted to yank it away. I kept my voice even. You didn't know? That's interesting. You're always the hero, but you didn't even know I've been funding them. Dylan's face shifted. Mom? Dad? Valerie jumped in fast, defensive. We didn't want to burden you with that. You have your own family. So he was paying all that? Dylan asked, frowning now. Don't get dramatic, Gordon barked. He offered. Yeah, I said, because they were barely surviving. Meanwhile, they're traveling to you multiple times a year, buying new stuff, acting broke only when they call me. Dylan stared at the screen like his brain was catching up late. Why wouldn't you tell me? Valerie snapped at him. Because you don't need to be involved. Gordon leaned forward toward me again. This is between us, not him. You're still wrong. You don't abandon your parents. I didn't abandon you, I said calmly. I stopped being your wallet. Valerie's voice went sharp. You think you're so tough. You think you're the only one with a kid. Dylan's kids matter too. Never said they didn't, I said. But you don't treat my kid like an afterthought and then demand cash like it's rent. She opened her mouth again, but I cut her off. We're done here. Leave. Gordon grabbed the chain like he might rip it off. You don't get to end this? I do. This is my door. I looked at Dylan on the phone. If you want to talk, we'll talk later without them running the show. Otherwise, this is finished. Then I shut the door. Chain still on, deadbolt after. Tessa was standing behind me with her arms crossed. That was wild. Yeah, I said. Yeah, They thought bringing Dylan would scare me. Fast forward a couple months. Dylan called me at night, and this time it was just him. No speaker, no parents coaching in the background. Man, he started, voice tired. They're living with us now. I didn't say anything. They lost the house. They said it's temporary, but it's bad. Rena's losing it. They took over the guest room, complain about everything, act like they own the place. Mom keeps crying about you. Dad is snapping at the kids. It's messing up our house. Yeah, I said. That's what they do. He swallowed. Rena wants them gone. I get why now. I didn't before. Now you do. He went quiet, then said the line I knew was coming. Can you take them for a while? Just a couple months so we can breathe? No. Nate, no, I repeated. Calm. Final. They don't step into my home again. Not after what they did to Lila. Not after trying to mess with my job and my wife. They're yours to deal with. He sounded strained. You're serious. Dead serious. He didn't argue after that. Just sighed like a guy who finally realized the weight he'd been dodging was real. After that call, things stayed quiet. Not because they suddenly learned respect, because they ran out of ways to reach me that mattered. I don't regret cutting them off. I regret waiting as long as I did. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.